安全、可靠、合理價格同環保表現呢4大目標，政府正就未來嘅發電燃料組合諮詢公眾，大家踴躍
發表意見啦
！Teams of two.
So I'm ready to bring it on, man.
That don't get along.
I'm frustrated.
I'm really thinking she's out of her mind.
It's kind of a nightmare.
She's so threatened by me.
Holy crap!
Sunday, the all-new Face Off at 8:30 on Pearl.
It was 20 years ago. Ever since, time has never been so magical.
The time now is 11:40. The Time Check was brought to you by Chopin.
Powerful earthquake rocks northern Chile. Locally, academics propose public nomination of chief executive candidates, and John Zhang says new taxes would be a political hard sell. Good evening. Tsunami warnings for Chile's coastline have been lifted after a magnitude 8.2 earthquake struck the country's northern coast. 6 people are dead and thousands had to be evacuated from low-lying areas. James Aiken brings us the latest.
¿Cómo funcionó en este caso?
The shaking set off landslides that blocked roads, knocked out power for thousands, damaged an airport, and sparked several fires.
En rigor tiene un encargado y ese encargado.
The U.S. Geological Survey says the quake was relatively shallow at 20 kilometers below the seabed. It struck 100 kilometers northwest of the mining port of Iquique, near the Peruvian border. It was so strong that shaking could be felt in Bolivia's capital almost 500 kilometers away. More than 20 significant aftershocks followed. It was very strong compared to the last one, said this Bolivian resident. She said her building has lots of cracks in it. In the streets of Peru, there was also panic, shock, and confusion. It scared me. I was walking and wondered what's happening. I got dizzy, says this woman. Officials say the victims were crushed by collapsing walls or died of heart attacks. As the leader of a country prone to earthquakes, Chile's president was quick to appear in a national address in the early morning hours soon after the tremor. Mandatory evacuation orders for some regions were issued, and the government sent riot police to join hundreds of soldiers deployed to prevent looting and round up inmates who escaped from a woman's prison. Tsunami warnings were extended for northernmost Chile, but warnings have been canceled for other regions. Tsunami warning was issued for as far away as Hawaii, although waves were not expected to flood inland. Chile is one of the world's most earthquake-prone countries due to active tectonic plates just off the coast. The last time Chile was struck by a major quake was in 2010, when the government prematurely waved off the tsunami danger. Most of the dead from that magnitude 8.8 quake survived the shaking, only to be caught in a killer wave that destroyed 220,000 homes and washed away large parts of many coastal communities. James Aiken, TVB News.
And here in Hong Kong, a group of academics today put forward their proposal for universal suffrage in the 2017 chief executive election. One of their key suggestions is to allow the public to nominate potential candidates. Evelyn Leung has more.
The academics who put forward their proposal for political reform said the aim is to achieve true democracy under the Basic Law. The proposal includes a statutory civic nomination track in nominating potential CE candidates. Anyone who receives the support of no less than 2% of the voting population can become a potential candidate. The nominating committee and political parties can also recommend their own candidates. These potential candidates will then have to get the support of 1/8 of the members of the nominating committee to run in the CE election. The academics said the composition of the nominating committee could be modeled on the framework of the 1,200-strong election committee in the 2012 vote. And the electoral base of various subsectors should be enlarged. After the candidates have been confirmed, a maximum of 2 rounds of elections will be held. The winning candidate will have to garner more than 50% of the total votes cast. The academics insist the proposal does not include any screening mechanism.
The key issue is whether the nominating procedure will impose an unreasonable restriction on a person's right to stand for election. Under our proposal, so at least you can't sort of manipulate in such a way to screen out worthy candidates. But unless you can control 7/8 of the membership of the nominating committee, otherwise you can't kick out someone whom Hong Kong people genuinely want to have as a candidate for the CE.
The academics hope that their proposal will be able to break the current political impasse, and they stress Beijing and the Hong Kong government would not have an excuse to turn down the proposal by saying it doesn't comply with the basic law. Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
The financial secretary has stressed the need to broaden Hong Kong's tax base. But John Zhang says the current political environment is not conducive to the introduction of new taxes.
A structural deficit that could come in 7 years. That was the grim prediction of a report by a working group on long-term government finances that took into account factors such as an aging population and a soon-to-be shrinking workforce. At the Hong Kong Bankers Club today, the financial secretary shrugged off suggestions that predictions he had made in the past about the city's finances had not come true. John Zhang noted that it wasn't him who raised fears about a structural deficit, but a team of financial experts. He pointed out that a structural deficit may not actually come true, but that it's time society addresses the issue to try to prevent it from happening. Despite this, he ruled out the introduction of a goods and services tax. He noted the outcome of a consultation conducted by his predecessor, Henry Tang, which revealed that the public will not accept it. Tang agreed, however, that the issue of broadening Hong Kong's tax base is worth further discussion.
The Secretary for Development insisted today Chief Executive Ling Chuning has not scrapped the scheme to build homes reserved for Hong Kong residents. Paul Chan stressed the Hong Kong Land for Hong Kong People policy can be put in place if necessary.
The chief executive never said that the Hong Kong Property for Hong Kong People measure has come to an end. He has not even said that this will be shelved.
The number of non-residents buying Hong Kong property has declined substantially. At present, the housing market has stabilized. Therefore, there is no urgency to further promote the pilot scheme on Hong Kong property for Hong Kong people.
The cost of water from the Dongjiang River on the mainland has gone up by 26% over the past 4 years. The government says the increase is reasonable and will adjust water charges accordingly. Stephanie Choi reports.
70 to 80% of Hong Kong's water supply is purchased from Guangdong province, with the Dongjiang River being the source. The cost of water from Dongjiang has gone up by a total of 26.5% between 2009 and 2013. Today, the Development Bureau told the LegCo Finance Committee local water charges will go up because of the rising cost.
Water charges have remained the same for over the past 19 years. In terms of water charges, about 14% of users currently are not required to pay any water charges, and water charges remain at a very low rate. In terms of cost recovery, we would like to gradually recover costs.
Domestic water charges in Hong Kong are calculated based on progressively increasing prices. The first 12 cubic meters are free, and from then on each cubic meter of water would cost you between $4.16 and $9.05. From 2013 to 2014, the cost of local water was $4.20 per cubic meter, and water from the Dongjiang, $8.80. A lawmaker pointed out the increase in the price of water from the mainland between 2009 and 2013 was higher than Hong Kong's inflation rate.
Is the price increase of Dongjiang water faster than the rate of inflation in the mainland? Is there any way to control the cost?
The Water Supplies Department said water charges are adjusted according to a mechanism based on the price indices of Hong Kong and the mainland.
Over
the years, the annual increase is about 5 to 6%. In the last round, when we came to the LegCo, or before we came to LegCo, we had talked to the economists, and they were of the view that the price increase was reasonable.
Also, the planning and study of seawater desalination technology is expected to be completed early next year. The Water Supplies Department hopes Hong Kong's seawater desalination plant will be up and running in 2020. Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
NATO has suspended cooperation with Russia to protest its annexation of Crimea. The alliance says despite a partial troop withdrawal, Moscow still has enough military might on Ukraine's border to carry out a successful incursion into the country if it wanted to. Alan Buckner reports.
It was the first meeting of NATO's foreign ministers since the occupation of Ukraine's Crimean region, which has touched off the worst East-West crisis since the Cold War.
We are suspending all practical cooperation with Russia, military and civilian. At the same time, we keep our diplomatic lines of communication open.
The foreign ministers also agreed to beef up their defenses of frontline alliance members feeling menaced by Russia's increased assertiveness. On Monday, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he'd ordered the pullback of a battalion of several hundred troops from Ukraine's border area. The NATO ministers noted that's still a small fraction of the tens of thousands of troops estimated to be there.
But it is a welcome gesture in the right direction. The question now is there a way to build on that in order to be able to find a way to move the masses of troops back and truly de-escalate?
NATO has said it has no military plans to defend Ukraine, but it will cooperate in sending in experts to help with training and other defense programs. Ukraine's foreign minister said Kiev has no intention of seeking membership in the alliance, something Russia strongly warned against prior to the meeting in Brussels.
Ukraine does not have a legal basis to apply for NATO membership. And the Ukrainian legislation, both adopted by the parliament and the program of the government, does not foresee the NATO membership as a priority.
Another major problem facing Kiev now is an announcement Tuesday by Russia's state-owned natural gas giant, Gazprom, that it's hiking prices for Ukraine by 50%. It also underlines Europe's dependence on Russian energy.
In the near future, there's no possibility that Europe will completely stop buying Russian gas, but it will definitely encourage them to look elsewhere and perhaps support projects like gas pipeline projects that deliver gas from Central Asia directly to Europe.
Alan Buckner, TVB News.
A surprise decision by the Palestinian leadership to sign more than a dozen international conventions could derail US-led peace efforts. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is resuming a campaign for further international recognition of a state of Palestine. The conventions give the Palestinian leadership more leverage against Israel. That comes despite a previous promise to suspend such efforts during 9 months of negotiations with Israel. US Secretary of State John Kerry cancelled a visit to Ramallah after Abbas made the announcement. But a top Palestinian official insists they're not walking away from the negotiations to reach a peace deal with Israel. Thailand's caretaker Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra is facing another legal challenge that could remove her from office. The Constitutional Court has accepted a case of alleged misconduct brought by opposition senators against her over the transfer of a key government official in 2011. The senators accused Yingluck of abusing her position back then by moving the head of the National Security Council to an inactive post. The official was known to be an opposition supporter. Yingluck has been ordered to present her defense within 15 days. She also faces separate charges of negligence over a rice subsidy scheme, a case that could lead to impeachment. In Taiwan, lawmakers today failed to re-examine a contentious service trade bill with the mainland.